Hello, and welcome to another episode of Carpe Diem inside the world of Matt's Headroom. You know, I actually, for the first time, had to sort of practice that because I am nervous as shit about doing this. And I've wanted to do it for a long time, um, but I just got the balls to do it. And, I'm nervous. I mean, like, I'm sweaty. I mean, my hands never shake. Well, maybe they're not shaking too bad, but they never shake. And I feel shaky. And, I wish that I was, say, George Carlin or Lenny Bruce, because then I could get away with saying the stuff I want to say, and you'd all laugh and think I'm cool. But what I want to say has been reflected, I think, by both of those guys many times. But I want to say it's serious. But before I do, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer, and that is that what I'm going to present. First, I don't want anybody to believe me. Okay, I'm not trying to get you to believe me. I'm not trying to get a following. I'm not monetized. I'm not making money at this. I'm doing this because I feel a need to do it. So please don't believe anything I say. Secondly, I don't want to insult anybody or any of their beliefs or values. Okay, I am not one of those idiot YouTubers who likes to aggravate people and then goes in the bathroom and you know what I mean? No, I'm not out to get anybody to get upset. I'm not out to get anybody to start yelling at me or disagreeing with me, because I don't want you to agree with me. All I want to do is say what's the way I see things. So, however, part of the way that I communicate to the world is through, say, sarcasm and cynicism, as that's, I guess, part of the way I am, Pisces that I am, with a moon in Aries. But I do want to be myself, so I probably will be cynical, and I probably will be sarcastic, but see it as more, not cartoonesque in meaning, but at least in the affect that I give to you. Okay? So, hi, with all that in mind, let's take a look for just a second at the fucking world. Okay? Look at what the fuck is going on. We got Jeffrey Epstein and that idiot, I can't even pronounce her name, Glycine Maxwell, and Clinton and Trump. Let me say that one again. Trump, 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 Trump. We've got school shootings and, just all kinds of bullshit. And that's just in this country, because then in other countries, there's religious sects that, believe in, if you don't believe in their religion, they'll just chop your head off and put it on YouTube, or not YouTube, I guess, but some platform. I mean, the world. Oh, look, there's Meatball. You can all see her. But to me, at 66, the world is kind of going to shit, and it's at times like these that people turn to. I bet you can't guess what I'm going to say. Religion. And there's nothing wrong with turning to religion, or better yet, turning to spirituality. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So nobody start thinking I'm thinking that, because I think I'm a very, very spiritual being. It's just my interpretation of spirituality is probably far off the norm. Okay? But I'm still spiritual. I'm not an atheist. I'm not an agnostic. I'm very clear there's a higher power. But guess what? I want to talk about religion from Mack's Headroom. And please accept this as just a communication, not my wanting to influence you or anything. And with that, I'm going to take a nervous break. Hang on. Well, that didn't work. Jesus, I'm nervous. Oops, oh God. Okay, here we go. I remember when I was a freshman in college in 1971, and I took my first class in anthropology, not knowing what the fuck anthropology was, but it just was something that was a choice that was given to a liberal arts major. So I took it, and at the first very class, this guy with a long ponytail who was a PhD in something gets up and he says, explains anthropology a little bit, and then he says, well, we're going to be talking about religion for the first 6 weeks. And so I'm going to give you 4 reasons why there is such a thing as religion. Well, the one that stands out in my head the most at 66, and I was like 21 at the time, is to cope with the unknowing, and to cope with the unexplainable, to try to make sense out of things that don't make sense. Maybe they're not made to make sense, but we try to make sense to keep our lives more organized and more manageable. So with that, pardon me by the way, I'm going to be referring to a comment that I made to a guy's show that I really like, but I'm not going to mention his name in case anybody hates me for this video. So I'm referring to the comment I made. So anyway, he said it's to cope with what you don't understand. Makes sense. You don't want to, we wouldn't have a cure for cancer if we didn't want to try to figure out something we didn't understand, right? So that brings up me to religion. So what really is religion? Well, I'm not going to try to answer that. But what I am going to say is I think the worst part of religion, and there are good parts, many good parts, okay, of religion, but I think the worst bastardization of religion is what I'd call organized religion. Now, how do you define organized religion? Well, that's just a group of people who believe in the same thing. And because religion is seen as such a valuable way of coping with the unknowing in our culture and how to make things better in some way, religion becomes something that is very important. However, with religion, it seems to me, comes getting others to try to join your organization and believe the way you believe, which is really, I think, against what this whole country is supposed to be fucking about, yet the Constitution guarantees all this religious freedom bullshit. But just look at how religion was acted out in the founding of the United States of America. Okay, I mean, that, first of all, got started in England over an organized religious difficulty that they couldn't solve for some reason, okay? And then they decided to come over here, and then guess what? Their religion, their mutual belief system, this organized religion, this collective force of people, now comes to this strange land and massacres the Native American Indian. Who knows what they believe in? Who gives a shit? Because their religion, their organized religion is better, and that's why they left the other country that didn't agree with that. And so wars break out, people get killed, Indians get massacred, and, it's as bad as the Holocaust, or slavery. It's the same difference. What the fuck difference does it make? But it all gets started because people want to get you to start believing in their religion. And, I think when that starts to happen, religions begin to transmute themselves into politics. Religions begin to, turn into issues such as territorialism. What religion gets what area? Because they know more than the other one. Bullshit. They also get into things like terrorism. Like, if you don't want to believe the way I believe, I'm going to fly a couple airplanes into your biggest building and kill 5,000 people because my version of God is better than yours. You ever heard a bigger line of shit than that? Give me a break. Whew. Look what else comes out of it. In certain religions, deviant sexual practices between, like young kids and adults is considered some valued thing because some version of something in their organized religion says that it's okay. It's nuts. Absolutely ridiculous. But I think that, human rights are sacrificed, because one group knows better than the other. And it's all the most humorous, and then the product of it is that it's like power over others at all costs, no holds barred. Human life don't mean shit. Isn't that what religion's supposed to be about, is human life? And yet, when it starts to get organized, you start to have wars. That's oxymoronic. I don't understand that. Okay? Now, let me just shift back to another little thing. All religions, well, I shouldn't say all, because I'm no theologist, believe me, but it seems to me like a lot of the major ones, especially in this country, go back to these two old science fiction comic books that I'm going to call or that's been called the First Testament and the New Testament. Think about it. Read those books. Does anybody really understand what the hell is going on? And then you hear rationalizations such as, well, it's just a metaphor, or, whatever, God's going to punish you, or, what have you. But I mean, it's based on two books. The first one of which is the greatest fascination to me because I'm Jewish. It would make sense, wouldn't it? But, it's the one that makes the least sense to me because it talks about such nonsense that I'm telling you, it belongs in an L. Ron Hubbard science fiction book. Sorry, all my fellow Jews, I love you because we're from the same culture. But I don't know that we view God, or excuse me, I don't even get to God yet. We don't view spirituality always in the same way. I eat pork, I love it. Okay? I'm still Jewish. But some would say I'm not when you start getting the religion organized, you see. So, the funny thing about the first science fiction novel is that it's based on, well, first of all, you got to understand something. Millions of years ago, or however many years, BC, AC, I don't know, the human brain was not very sophisticated. It wasn't sophisticated. They didn't know the difference between a dream and reality. I can remember when I was 3 years old having a dream that my mother told me that there was going to be a surprise underneath the radiator when I woke up. And when I woke up, I got out of the crib, I crawled over to the radiator, I reached underneath, and there was a fucking mousetrap underneath there, and I was like a screaming Mimi. Okay? I didn't know the difference between a dream and reality. What makes you think that somebody jillions of years ago knew the difference between a dream or reality? They dreamt something and all of a sudden it was real when they woke up. I mean, give me a break. I've even heard theories that they were experimenting with a lot of these new psychedelic ethnogens, like ayahuasca and other shit they found that they were hungry and ate and found out they gave them a buzz. But I'm just trying to say that it's based on nothing that anybody has ever seen except those who wrote about it, possibly in a dream state. So how can that carry on for that belief? Those beliefs carry on for so many years without it serving some secondary purpose. And that purpose is what you call organized religion. Then we bring everybody starts to use it to push other people around, you see. Religion gets used to push people around, and I hate it. I hate it. And not religion. I hate the pushing around that the organized form of it does. So here, let me go on for a minute. So what happens, out of this unsophisticated mind that can't tell the difference between dreams and reality, starts to create these things called what I call the God, Buddha, Allah illusion. Okay? They create this illusion that there is this God up there that really, if they just do what they think this thing you can't see is supposed to tell you to do, you can now know. You now know, and you can protect yourself in some way. But somehow it leads to war, and somehow it leads to crazy practices. I don't understand it. I'm not saying Jews do crazy practices, but they kind of do too. Let's face it. Look what goes on in Brooklyn and in New York in the ultra-Orthodox Hasidic faith. Just watch it on YouTube. There's kooky shit going on there too that I don't think is in the service of human rights. Okay? But this illusion, you see, of whatever you want to call it, God, Buddha, Allah, justifies any organized group of nuts to create their own laws, punishments, mores, and rituals for their own selfish needs to own people, territory, goods, status, etc. Because a higher power, which is never actually seen by mortal humans, says death, torture, stealing homelands, and the like is condoned by a force which cannot be objectively visualized other than through the eyes of an ancient comic book. I'm going too far. I'm going too fast because I'm reading. Did you get that? I'm going to take a break for a second and let you absorb what I just said, because I got to move on next. Okay, are you all ready? Here we go. Still nervous, not going away. Once one creates the organized religion that believes in whatever this higher power to explain the unknowing is established and starts to take over other places and people because they think they know the way and nobody else does, such a ridiculous idea, it sort of gets more bad, because then enters what I'm calling the bogus holy man. Okay, who is the bogus holy man? Well, in many cases, I won't say all, I don't want to insult anybody, okay? But that person takes the form of the priest, the rabbi, the guru, or the TV evangelist who asks for fucking money every time you turn on his goddamn show and he preys on people my age that don't have money to give away. To do what? Make me live longer? Right. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But you see, then I think it gets more sick, because you have a group of now organized people who can't make sense out of this science fiction novel, okay? You can't make sense out of it. It doesn't make sense. So you need an interpreter. That's the holy man. Oh, somehow he knows how to read that better than anybody else does. Bullshit. He just uses it in many cases, okay? Again, I'm not trying to insult anybody. I'm just a little on a rant, okay? Bear with me. But many times they'll use that for their own selfish motives, like conquering territory, like justifying wrongdoings, bossing each other around, not respecting one's individuality, slavery, you name it. You know, you name it. But since nobody can make sense out of this book, you need the holy man. And I could count so many. I mean, think of like Gene Simmons. I think that was his name. Some nut who used to wear an army helmet. Jim Baker, Jimmy Swaggart, what's that guy who took over the 500 Club? I don't even want to waste my time thinking of what his name was. But, I mean, you know, they were some pathway to understanding the unknowing? No, they just fed you a line of bullshit, because we all tend to believe in this all good, and I'm going to repeat that again, all good force that we can align ourselves with to take out the unpredictabilities of life. However, that doesn't explain the real nice guy who dies in a plane crash, does it? No. Then we rationalize again to maintain our religious fervor and say, well, God works in funny ways. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know. You know, then a lot of these holy men, and I'm sorry, whoever wants to say this, I mean, whoever wants to, I don't want anybody to argue with me, please. I just want to get across something. You know, we could start like with Jesus Christ. You know, he was one of these holy men who could interpret the Bible because he got people to believe that he was the Son of God. I've never seen any proof of that. Never seen any proof of somebody popping out of somebody's head. I've never seen any proof of any of that. So, I mean, why should I believe it? Well, because people believe in religion, and it causes all kinds of crazy shit and gets us what we want when we manipulate it for the wrong social reasons. Okay? So, you might be thinking, you know, I'm going to try to wrap this up, otherwise I'm going to go on like a crazy rant. But, you know, you may ask yourself, so what the fuck does this guy call himself spiritual for then? Okay, I'm sorry. One more thing I just want to add. If anybody wants to read an interesting thing about Jesus in terms of being a holy man who may have possibly, let's just say, used this creation of being the Son of God to influence other people to follow him, I suggest reading The Power Tactics of Jesus Christ and other essays by the great family therapist, actually, Jay Haley, who was once involved in the seminary. And it's only a 20-page essay in an unpublished, I mean, a no longer published book you can't get a hold of. But I want to credit that because it really changed my way of thinking when I read this little 20-page essay. Anyway, as I said, I don't really give a damn if anybody shares my personal beliefs. They're my beliefs. They help me get by in life. But I'm not going to try to force it down somebody's throat or organize it in some way to gain some secondary function. Money, power, prestige, a million Rolls Royces, sex at my command. Oh, God, if I could ever pull that one off, maybe I would believe in organized religion. But I have, I think that, my thinking is in the minority. And I think a lot of people would say, oh man, God's going to punish this dude, But that may be very well true. God may punish me for writing this video. But God may also give me good things. Because you see, that gets into what I consider spirituality. And don't believe me, please. Nobody believe me. I don't want to influence anybody. But you see, the way I see this, I said, I believe in spirituality. I believe in a higher power. There's no two ways about it. Do I believe in AA? Fuck no. But I do believe in a higher power. So I would say that this Max Headroom's version of this higher power is that it's a capricious higher power. It's a power I don't think to surrender oneself to, especially to surrender oneself to the holy man who interprets what the higher power is supposed to be telling us that's only told in books that don't make any sense, logically, okay? So, I just think that God, this higher power, whatever you want to call it, the God force, the guru, I don't know what you call it, but this higher power is capricious. It's whimsical. It's not all good, all bad. I don't believe in a devil. I really don't. Satan, fuck you. You're not going to get me. No. But God might if he's in one of his moods. And if he's in one of his gracious moods, he may save my life, like he has several times after 2 heart attacks in 1 week. Praise the Lord as far as that goes. But I can't praise the Lord when it comes to people using whatever this God force is that we can't understand in an organized fashion to generate things like politics and the control of others and people's freedoms and shit like that. I don't have any suggestions. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All I know is I really am very leery, and I really warn people, and this is my warning, I mean, you don't have to take it, is to be careful of organized religion. You might say your organized religion is great, just like the Scientologists say, but look what happens. As soon as you get into anything that's an organized religion, it creates havoc, and it creates conflict, and it creates, I'm going to conclude by saying what I've said before, and that is that Sigmund Freud was known for saying the following. When one forgets that the human organism is a member of the mammalian species, the mammalian species, one loses a great understanding of human nature. Okay? Meaning we all do have animal in us. And maybe that's one of the reasons we organize like that in packs. And then our more sophisticated brain starts bringing this thing called religion into it. I don't know. I don't know. I just know that believing the way I believe helps me, and I wish more people would adopt an individual view of spirituality as opposed to organizing, because once you organize, a lot of havoc seems to follow. Whew! I made it. I did it. I hope it didn't hurt anybody's feelings. I really don't want to do that, and I don't want to go down as some insider, please. But thank you. And this concludes a true episode of Inside the World of Max Headroom. Good afternoon.